Score streaks and kill streaks are supposed to be this super powerful reward that you get for performing well in a Call of Duty match, but sometimes a streak is super powerful or super annoying, and it results in the community at large getting a little upset, getting a little salty. What is up, everybody? Jimmy or Chaos. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about 10 of the most hated score streaks in Call of Duty history, and I know hated is a very, very strong word, and these fit the bill. These are the most despised. Whatever word you want to use in a negative light, these are those kill streaks and score streaks in the COD community. So you let me know in the comments which score streak you hated the most. Drop a like. And at number 10, the Sniper's Nest in Black Ops 4. Now, helicopters, they are a common part of Call of Duty multiplayer experiences, and there's a common courtesy that comes with these kind of streaks. Generally speaking, Call of Duty helicopters will give you some kind of warning before they open fire at you. Maybe they won't give a warning, but they'll have to hit you 5 to 6 times before they kill you. Give you a little wake-up call, which gives you at least some time to react and get to cover. Well, the Sniper's Nest from Black Ops 4 was the most obnoxious helicopter in COD history because it completely broke those rules. It was a helicopter with a sniper team controlled by AI, meaning you would just be running around the map and then pop, you're dead. Then you would respawn, run around for a few seconds, pop, you're dead. No warning, no courtesy, you just getting blasted from the AI in the sky over and over again. If the enemy team called in a Sniper's Nest, you needed to shoot it down immediately, or else you and your team just were not going to be playing Call of Duty for a couple minutes, and that can get frustrating. It really honestly didn't feel fair. At number 9, the Archangel Launcher in Black Ops 6. Basically a reworked and buffed version of the Valkyrie rockets all the way back from Black Ops 1, which were ironically one of the worst streaks in COD history. It's weird, but the Archangel Launcher is a super cheap streak. Lets you manually control this huge rocket with a massive blast radius, and you get not one, but 2. It's fun to use, but it's rapidly becoming hated by the community for a few reasons. First of all, it's a default unlock, so everybody has it on their back right in the beginning, and second of all, it's really cheap. So basically, anyone of any skill level can get it and use it, and third of all, the rockets are hard to avoid once they're coming towards you, and since the blast radius is so big, the explosion will probably still kill you even if you do manage to shoot it down. And fourth of all, yes, there's a fourth. There was a bug during the first couple weeks of Black Ops 6 where activating this launcher while standing next to a wall would instantly kill you for no reason, although they thankfully fixed that. It was funny too. Personally, I think this launcher could use a little boost in required score to earn because they're really strong. With how easy they are to use, they're rapidly becoming the new RCXD in terms of cheap and easy kills. Speaking of which, we like to segue on this channel at number 8. The RCXD in the Black Ops series as a whole. It's an iconic part of Call of Duty multiplayer, but that doesn't mean everybody likes it. It's appeared in every single Black Ops game, and he even made some guest appearances outside the Black Ops series, but it's typically one of the cheapest streaks in the game, and it will easily get you 1 to 3 kills in return because of how difficult it is to counter, which gets really annoying really quickly if you're on the receiving end. Heck, in Black Ops 1, the RC car would only cost you 2 kills with hardline. Then you could easily get 2 to 3 kills with it every time you were using it, especially if you were playing OBJ modes. The RC almost always had the really fast movement speeds. Obviously, it's small, which makes it difficult to destroy before it gets too close, and there's nothing more annoying than going on a kill streak only to see that stupid little car driving towards you with murderous intent. Even if you manage to shoot it, it'll blow up where it gets hit, and the explosion's probably still going to kill you and ruin your streak. So yes, the RC car is iconic, and yes, it's a staple of the series, but a lot of the community absolutely hates it. I had to put it on the list. At number 7 today, the Hunter Killer in Black Ops 2. A while back, I did a video of the best cheap kill streaks in Call of Duty history, and I gave the Hunter Killer drone a shout out. But to my surprise, a decent number of people in the comments said they actually hated this thing because of how cheap it was, and you know what? I get the hate. I understand it. I feel it. The Hunter Killer was very easy to earn, and once you got it, all you had to do was throw it in the sky, and it would roam around the map, set it and forget it, detect an enemy player, dive bomb onto them, and boom, you got rewarded. The explosion of the Hunter Killer was big enough to kill the target and anybody nearby them, and I remember seeing some hilarious clips of people getting triple or even quad kills with a single Hunter Killer drone. But if you were on the receiving end of that, it could get really frustrating because really, what are you supposed to do in response? If the enemy team calls in a Hunter Killer drone, you basically have to duck indoors for a few seconds and pray that it locked onto somebody else. How many times in Black Ops 2 were you on a great streak that got ended because some random dude on the other end of the map threw out a Hunter Killer drone and it just happened to lock onto you? I loved it. I did. I used it a lot. I can absolutely see why people hated it because at the end of the day, the thing was pretty cheap. I remember ducking in a room on a map and it coming through the window and killing me. Yeah. At number 6, the dogs in World at War. Oh, take me back. The attack dogs are an iconic streak in COD history, and their first appearance was in World at War as a 7-kill streak. Now, once you called in the dogs, an army of pooches would run into the battlefield and just start munching on anybody they saw. But the reason they were so hated was because there wasn't any proper perk to keep them from diving on you. They were way too strong for being just a 7-kill streak, and the melee mechanics were so janky in World at War, they were almost impossible to counter once you saw them. In later COD games, the melee hitbox on the attack dogs was made a bit more generous. You could knife them as they were coming at you, but back in WoW, the melee lock-on and animation was so janky you were better off just trying to shoot the dog that was running at you, which was also basically impossible because of how fast they ran. So even though the attack dogs are an iconic Call of Duty streak, the World at War version deserves to be here. They were cheap. For how easy they were to earn, there should have been more of a consistent counter to them if you were on the receiving end. Now we arrive at the top 5. The IMS in Modern Warfare 3 2011. This has to be one of the most obnoxious things ever put in a Call of Duty game. 5 kills to call it in. Easily is going to get the user 4 to 6 because it's basically impossible to see coming. It's this big box you put on the floor somewhere, and if an enemy player ran within a certain radius of it, the box would let out this high-pitched scream and blow them up. So basically, the only way to counter the IMS was to get killed by it once and then remember where it was. But the IMS also had a huge health bar, so it was kind of hard to destroy once you figured out where it was. You would have to spray multiple mags at it from a safe distance, at which point you just gave your position away to the enemy player who was in the area, and they would walk up and stick a knife in your back while you were trying to blow up the big box of death. Super annoying. Completely destroyed the flow of the game. Definitely one of the most hated streaks in COD history. Other versions of the IMS have shown up in COD since OG Modern Warfare 3. But there was just something about the original version that was extra frustrating compared to the versions that came later. And since we're on the topic of Modern Warfare 3, at number 4, the Stealth Bomber in Modern Warfare 3, the original. Can someone explain to me why this was a support streak? Does anybody at Sledgehammer want to give me some insight? If you happen to watch this video, just hit me up on Twitter. Shoot me a DM and help me understand. The Modern Warfare 3 Stealth Bomber was literally just the OG Modern Warfare 2 Stealth Bomber, which was one of the most devastating streaks in the game, but it was thrown into a support strike package instead of the Assault one, meaning you didn't actually have to go on a kill streak to get it. The Modern Warfare 3 Stealth Bomber just required you to get 14 points, either kills or objective captures, it didn't matter. And then you get to mark this huge spot on the map to get carpet bombed by the airship that the enemy couldn't see or hear coming until it was too late, hence the name Stealth Bomber. This streak would have been perfectly fine if you actually had to earn it. But since it was a support streak, that meant literally anybody could get it regardless of skill level. If they had thumbs or not, it didn't matter. That's not a knock to people that don't have thumbs. My apologies. And on the smaller maps, it was the most annoying thing in the world. We didn't call it the no skill multi-kill for no reason. At number 3, the Chopper Gunner in Black Ops. I've said a few times that the Chopper Gunner is one of my favorite streaks of all time, but the reason it's ranked so high on this specific list is because the Black Ops 1 version was one of the most frustrating things to go up against, because back during this era of COD, nobody was running lock-on launchers to shoot it down. There was no spawn protection. If somebody on the other team called in a Chopper Gunner, you just had to accept the fact that you were going to get spawn killed 30 times or you're just going to have to back out of the lobby. Now, it's shown up in other Black Ops games, but it's been a lot easier to deal with because of things like lock-on launchers, stronger LMGs that can shoot it down the old-fashioned way, but the Black Ops 1 version basically had no counter. So if somebody called it in, there was a good chance 2 to 3 people would just disconnect from the match instead of getting locked on into 45 seconds of spawning and dying over and over, which I understand. At number 2, the Raps in Black Ops 3. I love these things. The deploy ship, one of the coolest streaks in COD history if you ask me, but it also led to a lot of salty disconnections during the Black Ops 3 era. Super expensive streak, so you had to work hard and earn it. But once it was called in, a heavily armored dropship would fly around the map and dump a bunch. When I say a bunch, I mean a bunch of rolling explosive drones that would drive around looking for enemies. They were terrifying. If they saw somebody on the enemy team, they would beeline towards them and explode once they got within a certain radius. Killed the target, killed anybody else. If you were the one that called in the Raps, you would get 15 to 20 extra kills added to the scoreboard. If you were the one on the receiving end of the Raps, you would just have to pray that somebody on your team could shoot down the deploy ship before it dropped the entire payload, or else you were in for 1 to 2 minutes of pure carnage, getting killed over and over again by rolling drones with way too much health to counter and way too big of a blast radius to dodge. If somebody called in Raps, well, half the other team was going to leave the match. And at number 1, the most hated score streak in COD history, hands down, has to be the Swarm in Black Ops 2. There's few streaks in COD history that have provoked as many disconnections as the Black Ops 2 Swarm. Now, this streak was insanely hard to get, but if you were good enough, you were not only guaranteed 20 extra kills, but you were almost more or less guaranteed a lopsided lobby. By the time it was over, half the enemy team would disconnect. The Swarm was literally an army of hunter-killer drones. Absolute grind to earn, but once you got it, you could just sit back and watch the entire enemy team get blown up over and over and over again as your drone continued to dive bomb on them for 60 seconds. It was one of the most infuriating streaks in the game because there was no counter. The drones were way too small to shoot down. The blast radius was huge, so they could easily get you from around the corner. They were constantly circling the map, so there was no safe angle to sit unless you were completely indoors, at which point the enemy player would flush you out, or these little drones would come through the window. The Swarm had to be the most rage-quit, provoking streak in COD history, and even though it was amazing to earn, it deserves the #1 spot on the list because if you were going up against it, it was a basic automatic loss for you. Let me know one score streak you hated so much that I did not mention, and I'll see you guys soon.